Before this video starts, I just want to say there will be spoilers throughout this game, so if you haven't played it, go play it. What's the crack, everybody? I got the God of War Ragnarok Platinum Trophy. If you stick around, you'll see how I got it. So I started this video off with Papa Kratos riding away on a sleigh, looking like he's being chased by someone. And he is being chased by someone. Balder's mom. I think she's still a bit upset from what happened. She also just keeps eating her. And then Atreus shows how powerful he is by just reaping the soul of the poor dog. And also, I'm not crying, you're crying. Kratos sees Atreus taking someone's soul and just decides, fuck that, I'm gonna go take a nap. Kratos then drifts off to Dreamland where he has a lovely dream about his wife Faye, wherein she tells him to get up off his ass and do some work. I think Kratos was not too happy about this from the look on his face. We're then off into the woods to find the boy. So on the travels we come across a honey addict. The bear pisses Kratos off, so Kratos decides to choke it out. And then, through magic, it is revealed that the bear was Atreus the whole time. Kratos then turns into every parent ever and tells him to cop on and we're going home. And then this leads me to my first trophy. And then, during a wicked bad storm, we had a random knock at the door. I say knock, but the fella blew a hole in the fucking roof. And then he reveals himself to be not your Marvel Thor. Once he's done then showing off his little hammer, he reaches back, he grabs a bottle of mead and waves it at us, as if we're gonna let him in just like that. So once he's in sitting down, he's relaxed a little bit, and then he talks to his father's pet pigeon. And then the pigeon flies away, probably to go rob some people's McDonald's chips or something. Thor then asks Kratos one of the funniest questions you'll probably ever hear, if he's a calm and reasonable person.
A few moments later.
We then get to meet one of the most all-powerful gods, Odin. That's right, this guy is Odin, the old, frail looking man. He looks like someone that just escaped from a nursing home. We then got into a minor altercation with Thor. Hands were thrown, but I think everything was resolved. Thor then just ups and pieces out like he's Mary Poppins. Kratos standing there like, I wonder if I can do that too. Brock and Sindri show up, and then we acquire our second trophy. We then make it back to the house to see Atreus in one piece after talking to that old geriatric Odin. Atreus then asks us to go somewhere with him. We grab the head and we're off out the door once again. I then upgraded my axe technique, which let me acquire the bronze trophy, knocking off the rust. And I do what I do best, fail, proving that knocking off the rust is not true. The place then Atreus brought us to was where the giants left their storyboards for us to find. But he wants to show us something new that he found, and I don't know how he found it. He wants to show us the behind the scenes footage of the boards. Then, in the behind the scenes footage, we get to see two giants freeing the two wolves that chase the sun and the moon. And nobody knows if this was in the past, present or future. And then Sindri shows up to be like, my casa or su casa. He then opens up a portal to show that his gaff is the realm between realms. And I gotta admit, the fella does not live in a kip of a gaff. I have absolutely no idea what type of gaff I thought he lived in either. Then, after upgrading some of my armor, I managed to snag the trophy, Spitshine. Then, after Brock and Sindri are done torturing Mimir and giving him an upgrade, of being able to travel between realms. Because let's face it, if the two boys didn't figure out a way for the two lads to travel across the realms, it'd be a very, very short game. And the reason the two boys are in this land is because they're looking for Tyr, but they're also looking for someone to help them find Tyr. But they also need help trying to find the dwarf that they need to find. So I then got sidetracked from the main mission and decided to go off and do a side mission, where it's to free a whale that's been trapped by Mimir. To get the side mission done, we have to climb up on top of the whale and cut off its chains. There are 3 chains, one on each flipper and one on his tail. After breaking all the chains on the sea flap, Mimir decides to go talk to him. And the elephant of the water just does not want to talk to Mimir. So the 3 of us decide to head on our way, leaving the big mammal there. But at least this leads us to our next trophy, which is making amends. I then met the little dwarf that knows where Tyr is. He then gives us a scroll to help us find Tyr. We then take a relaxing train ride up a mountain, locked behind some doors. We then find Tyr, deep in a hole in a mine. Once the doors are down, and we get to see Tyr after all the dust is cleared, and we introduce ourselves. Tyr gets a bit spooked and decides to Leroy Jenkins the fuck out of there. Atreus is like, not today, and gives chase right after him. We then eventually catch up to the 2 giants. And Atreus is just trying to calmly explain what is going on and that they will not hurt Tyr. But by the time Kratos gets there, Kratos is like, well, this is getting us nowhere. So he starts yelling at him and giving out that he's supposed to be a god of war. Kratos then tells him just to cop on. And after Tyr's been given his big rally speech, Tyr stands up and it's almost like he's trying to intimidate Kratos. But Kratos don't give a goddamn. Kratos and the boy then decides to invite back the friendly giant back to the 2 dwarves' house. And after the two dwarves and everyone else has said their hellos to Tyr and taken the collar off him, I don't know why Tyr couldn't have just ripped that collar off him himself. There's something suspicious about him. Mimir then and Kratos decide to head back to Kratos' room, where they decide to have a little meeting or a chat about the way Atreus has been acting the last few weeks. Atreus then was under the window listening to all this for some reason, just before he decided to sneak away. The place Atreus decides to go to is Midgard. Once Atreus gets through the doors to Midgard, and when he's there he gets greeted by the man, the myth, the legend, Sindri. Sindri and Atreus then continue on their little adventure to go see the giant lizard himself that wants to go about 10 rounds with Thor. They're looking for him to see if he knows anything about what's going on around the place. I don't think he did, because he just decided to peace out. Atreus then gets a little bit pissy with him as he's going. Atreus decides mission failed, so he decides to head back to Sindri's gaff. I wonder if he knows how long he's gone for, because when I sneak out, I never know how long I'm gone for. As soon as Atreus gets through the door, everyone's already up and ready to go. I was actually quite surprised that Kratos didn't go full Amber Alert when he thought Atreus was missing. Every other time Atreus isn't there, he loses his fucking shit. Also, just a side note here, but Brock cooking scares the absolute shit out of me. Anyways, we finally meet a flying squirrel. Sorry, a magic flying squirrel. He ends up giving the seed that we have an old spit shine. Once the flying squirrel is done with it, then he gives it back to Kratos. Which I don't know if I touched that or not. That's kind of gross. It does allow us to travel to a new realm. And in the new realm, then we get to see another behind the scenes of one of the stories the giants left behind for us. I think the behind the scenes story has something to do with either that guy from Aladdin or that fella from the Bible. Doesn't really matter anyways, because Kratos gets too bored and he just decides to leave. Kratos and Atreus then decide to peace out and decide to go home. On the way back then to Sindri's house, Kratos and Atreus just get absolutely ridiculed by the flying squirrel and his friends. I decided to leave it out though, because the bullying is just too much for them. Atreus then decides to sneak off another time, and he ends up somehow in Jotunheim. As he's looking at a picture, then he just gets the absolute shit scared out of him. After he's done getting the poopy scared out of him, he gets to see more of them pictures that we seen in the last one, and he gets to see what Kratos saw, and he does not like it one bit. But he also gets to see something Kratos never saw, and that's him making some deals with Odin. So to take his mind off it, the girl that he just met decides to take him on a ride on her cow. Sorry, magic cow. And then, for the strangest things of all, the little girl decides to give Atreus her most prized possession, her bag of marbles. The two kids then both find a snake that's just randomly hanging up in someone's house. Then, at the same time, they both try to bring the snake back to life by muttering some words over his head. After the snake's then brought back to life, it just decides to peace out away from them. We got to meet Agroboda's grandmother, and after realizing her cooking is terrible, we decide to destroy her cauldron. And funnily enough, after destroying her cauldron, we get kicked out, and then this leads us to our next trophy that we just acquired, the bronze trophy, the cauldron. And the cooking from the grandmother scared us so much we decided to run as quickly as we could back, and Atreus even turned into a wolf. Angraboda then decided to ride a fox all the way back, a giant fox. Atreus then doesn't want to sleep over anymore, so he wants to go back home, so he lays down and decides to do the Dorothy thing from the Wizard of Oz. He ends up at the wrong house then, and who comes out of the portal but Papa Kratos, and scares the absolute shit out of him once again. Freya then gave herself a makeover to go and see if she could fight Kratos once again. It did not work well. Atreus then decides to try and scare her and turns into a bear. I think it worked because she stopped. Freya then needs Kratos' help, so she decides to put her vendetta aside for the second. And of course Kratos will help, but first I got the trophy, Backyard Brawl. And of course we get to move on to a new realm. So only after a few minutes of being in this realm, somehow Brock managed to get captured by like a magic branch or root or something. And of course Kratos runs headfirst in to see if he can get his friend back. And since Kratos rushed in to help him, we get ambushed by Freya's frat boy brother and his little band of misfit friends. He's like Robin Hood, if Robin Hood just wanted to drink and fight Odin. We weren't here to meet him or ridicule him. We were just here for Freya to help her out of a situation by killing the world's most giant reptile. She then destroys one of Odin's balls that keeps her in some place. I don't know exactly what she destroyed. And I got an amulet out of the deal, so it gave me the trophy how it started. And this also led to the next trophy, Root of the Problem. We're then back to Freya's brother's camp, where we're asked for a favor to retrieve a dog's ball. And Kratos just happened to have his favorite ball on him, so we got the trophy, which was called New Friends. I wonder what that's like. Freya doesn't like her old sword anymore, so she asks us for one more favor, and we decide to head out and see if we can get her a new sword. And once she got a new sword, I managed to snag the trophy, and it was named It Was a Good Day. We then get back to Atreus, where he gets to go to one of the places barely anyone's ever been, Asgard. He also gets put in his place by one of the most obnoxious fucking gods I've ever met in my life. He also gets scared by Thor. Speaking of being scared, Atreus then gets to meet Thor's daughter, who holds him at cleaver knife point. Atreus then was given a mission with Thor to go see if he can put together that mask from the Jim Carrey film. What was the name of that film again? I really can't remember. And once we're done with Atreus, we get back with Kratos when he's just about to ride a seahorse to go underwater and see if he can find the people that predict the future. But why are they underwater? They're like magic. I don't understand. Once Kratos meets the fates of this land, he surprisingly gets very pissed off with them and decides to leave fairly quick. Once Kratos gets back on dry land, him and Freya find the one-time use noose. Freya then takes it just as a keepsake. Kratos then decided he wants some new jewelry, so one of the dwarfs decides to help him get it. But not only that, it also turns into a magic weapon. And it's a weapon Kratos is really all too familiar with. And this is my new favorite weapon. Odin then decides to make an appearance, and I think it was for the worst because Kratos just fucking absolutely intimidates him. I think Kratos starts telling him about all the stuff he did in Greece. Just scary shit. And then meanwhile, Atreus and Thor's daughter then decide to play with a dog. They decide to free it and let it out of the yard. Or should I say the dog let himself out of the yard. Atreus then gets yelled at by pretty much everyone, so he decides to head on home. And upon returning home, he realizes that letting that dog loose was not the best idea. Everyone is just having like a massive looking anime battle. Kratos then pulls one of the most badass moves you'll ever see in your life, where he puts his spear through something's head and rescues Atreus, which led to the next silver trophy I unlocked, the very coolly named Spartan Ways. Atreus then tells his dad that he wants to go back to hell to get his puppy. So Atreus and Kratos decide to chase after the big fluffo dog, and they found the big doggo taking a nap. And then I got a new virtual paperweight off the leash. Atreus then tries to discipline the dog by patting him on the head a bit too hard, as you can probably see, because the dog starts to try to buck him off. So Atreus fails to train the dog, but Kratos on the other hand seems to be the dog whisperer. So after taming the dog, Kratos decides that he can train anything, and he decides to go find a giant flying jellyfish thing, and that lets me add another trophy to the collection. We're back then to meet Freya, where she tells us her brother has been kidnapped and we have to go help. And on the way to help, we come across the reason the mute button was invented. Heimdall then tries to act tough, sitting on his big cat goat thing. I think everybody knows a fella that's just like this. I do wonder though, could Kratos actually beat him without the spear? I reckon he could. Heimdall just gets straight up disrespected by Kratos. He tries to spear him and Heimdall's like, "How dare you disrespect me, sir?" And then Kratos just extinguishes his light from the world like it was nothing. While playing this, I actually thought he just choked him out, and I was like, how do you know he's dead? He could just be knocked out. But I guess if you know, you know. Mimir's just giving out there like, you shouldn't have done that now. Well then next time you can fight the god and I'll sit back and watch. But anyways, I got the next trophy, which was called Comeuppance. After rescuing Freya's brother, he gets hurt and can't walk anymore. So Kratos just picks him up like he weighs nothing and starts hauling ass to just get him away from all the bad guys. So after getting him to his shore, he decides to pull out his magical flying boat, and we just about get him back to camp. He then asks his sister to treat him for his wounds, because the woman that was trying to treat him, that forges weapons all day with an anvil, does not have the softest of touches. I mean, I don't know what they were expecting. I mean, she forges weapons all day, every day. But moving on from that, we get to craft some scaly armor, and this let me bag the next silver trophy, Dragon Slayer. And then meanwhile, somewhere else, Atreus is found out by all the gods. So before his head's turned to mush by Thor's hammer, he decides to pull a Houdini. Atreus is extremely lucky. Not many people get away from Thor alive. And it just so happened that Kratos was out for a nice little walk for himself, and he just so happens to stumble across his darling little boy. Atreus then asks his dad where did he get his dragon armor from. He also tries to show him his new mask, and Kratos just says, "Got it on sale from this place out of town." Kratos and Atreus then decide to get involved in some matters in a different realm, and the matters that they're getting involved with is getting a hammer for the little fella Durlin from a stone chest. It's so he can sell it on eBay or lead another rebellion. We bring him the hammer anyways, while he's just sitting on his ass in the tavern doing absolutely nothing but relaxing. I still think he's just going to sell it on eBay, but it doesn't matter now anyways, because we're moving on. And while moving on, this leads to my newest trophy, Rebellion Leader. Then we find out Odin's been living with us the whole time. He tries to mwahaha away with the mask, and Kratos just harpoons the mask to the wall. But unfortunately, Odin ended up killing everyone's favorite heckler, Brock. He will definitely be missed. So after all that, Kratos and everyone else is going to war with Odin. So we decide to go get help from someone else. The man decides to 300 himself into the pit so he can come back bigger and stronger for Ragnarok. And after seeing the man that never gives gets cold, fall into the pit. Atreus and Kratos are then attacked by Odin's own personal bodyguards, and the two winged bodyguards are absolutely no match for the two boys, Kratos and Atreus. The two of them barely break a sweat, taking out Odin's own personal winged bodyguards. Kratos and Atreus then relax a tiny bit, and Atreus turns back into himself. And I relax a little bit too after acquiring the newest trophy, Better Together. And then we move on back to Midgard to take on a few things. And one of those things was taking on a man who had all of his Weetabix grown up. And the reason we had to make your man kick his nasty breeding habit, along with all his friends, it was because Kratos' two wolves got nervous around any camp. So we decided to go in and evict them by making them kick their nasty breathing habit. So Kratos goes out and pets the two dogs because they're still worried. Even tough old Kratos loves dogs. But this leads us to one of the best named trophies in the game, and the name of it is Besties. I decided then to change up Kratos' armor a little bit for this part of the game. We are then in Asgard for one final fight with Odin, but first we have to get past that absolutely enormous wall, and there is only one weakness in that wall, and there is only one man to help us get past this massive flaw in the wall, and his name is Sindri. Atreus then uses about half his quiver full of arrows to blow absolutely massive chunks out of the wall of Asgard. Thrud then shows up but refuses to believe that her grandfather is very crouchy and a bad guy. But eventually we manage to change her mind, and even Kratos gets to meet her. And then Kratos, Atreus and Thrud all fight together against Odin's forces. Kratos then has one last fight with Thor, but at the end he manages to convince him that his dad is just an asshole. Kratos then puts his weapon away and tells Thor to just stop it, and that we can be friends. And now all I can think about is that song, Why Can't We Be Friends? Thor agrees to be friends with him, and then he puts his weapon away too. Decides yes. And I'd say this would be Thor's first real friend, or a friend he just can't push around. Then Odin shows up looking pissed because Kratos isn't dead yet. He gets very mad then when he finds out Thor is a new man. He starts scolding Thor for not killing Kratos. Odin breaks out that old nugget then of, oh, this is your fault, not mine. You're making me do this. In the end then, Odin decides to ground Thor and send him away forever. Odin then tries to blame Kratos for everything, anyone but him. Atreus then decides to have a heart-to-heart with Odin to see if he'll change his mind and change his ways. Odin, surprise surprise, does not want to change his mind or change his ways, or he says he can't. Atreus doesn't want a normal fight with Odin, so he just decides to reap his soul and puts his soul into one of his marbles to be kept safe forever and ever. Or will it be kept safe? And then there's Kratos just showing up like, oh, what's that you got there? And once we're done with everyone else's family drama, I managed to snag the last story trophy, which was called Ragnarök. We give Kratos a brand new shield, which gives us a brand new trophy. Kratos then goes around to different realms to find the 4 zebras from the world tree that managed to escape. Once all the deers of the world tree are gone back to where they belong, I unlocked a new trophy, Pure of Heart, and then we're on to fighting someone's ex-girlfriend and beating it. I then became the new proud owner of the silver trophy, Invasive Species. I upgraded the amulet to full, which gave me the trophy, How's It Going? Kratos stays healthy by eating nothing but apples and drinking from horns, and that gives us the new trophy, Full Belly. After Kratos kicks a whole lot of ass, I got the trophy, Trials by Fire. I noticed while editing this video that Clank's head was on the last poem that we picked up to acquire the trophy, The Librarian. We then had to go around the world and collect all the wood lice from the world tree. Once they're all back at the world tree, I unlocked the new trophy, Rifle Place. After traveling to so many different realms and picking up so many artifacts, I finally got the trophy, The Curator. After fully upgrading all the armor, I got the trophy, Ready for Commitment. After unaliving a ghost, once again, I bagged 2 trophies for this one, and one of them was Grave Mistake. This was the last hilt handle I needed, so it gave me the trophy, The Collector. After picking some flowers, I got the trophy, The Florist. I was then on to one of the most infuriating trophies I've had to get, and it's to fight Gnaw, but Freya decides to make the last blow against Gnaw after having a very beautiful heart-to-heart. Freya sheaths her sword then, and Kratos just gives a look as if to say, I definitely could have done that, and I got the trophy, The True Queen. I then went on to what I think is one of the saddest trophies in the game, where we're giving Brock one of the best send-offs they can ever give him, and we just get to see how sad everyone is after Brock's passing. And once we're done seeing everyone cry and mourn Brock, it goes and fades to black, where the last 2 trophies pop, which are Funeral for a Friend and the Platinum Trophy, The Bear and the Wolf. And this is the end of the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one.